Hello, I'm Christine Zips, and today I have the honor of welcoming back James Roguski. He has been hot on the trails of keeping us informed and monitoring what's been going on these past weeks or two of at the WHO, and now it sounds like the FDA is pulling some fast ones for our children and injections. And I'm not super up to speed on this, but I know that it's potentially going to be harming our children, and we need to get this word out sooner rather than later. So it's my pleasure to welcome you back, James.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Relatively short notice because this stuff is happening quickly.
Right.
I think the saying is jumped out of the frying pan and right into the fire, or vice versa. I'll just dive right in, and you can please feel free to interrupt me at any point in time. Depending upon when whoever is listening to this is doing so and watching it. It's a very fluid environment. Time is passing, and so what I'm trying to lay out is the schedule of things that are happening that people should know about in the month of June in regards to the FDA and the CDC and the meetings that they have to consider yet more emergency use authorizations for injectables. And that's the word I'll use for it. They're not vaccines, they are something. And so today that we're recording this is, I believe, the 7th of June.
Right.
So the schedule going forward is such that if you happen to be watching this video and it's still the 7th of June, there is a deadline that you can still meet to put in public comment about whether or not you feel it's appropriate for these injectables to be authorized to be used in infants that are 6 months old or more. And I like to stick to the facts. And so I'm going to interject an opinion. Hey, FDA, are you out of your minds? Okay, I'll get back to the facts. That's my opinion. These injections, depending upon whether you're talking about Pfizer or Moderna, their products are in a varying state of, authorized for this group of age group, or approved for this age group, or maybe Comirnaty or Spikevax. It's all just an absolute mess. But what they're going to be trying to do on Wednesday, the 15th, is they're going to have a double header. The Vaccine Advisory Committee of the FDA will be discussing both Moderna and Pfizer to receive whether or not they should receive emergency use authorization for children below 5 or 6, depending upon which company you're talking about, down to 6 months old. And there's a lot of confusing information. There's all kinds of details and research and data and claims and lies and all that stuff. I think I can simplify it. Children in that age group do not die from COVID. Children in that age group do not die from COVID. Therefore, there can be no benefit of these injections to anyone other than the people at these drug companies who are trying to make money by convincing people that you should inject your little tiny babies with gene therapy that, number one, has not adequately been tested, has been shown to be dangerous, and I repeat, cannot possibly give any benefit because kids in this age group do not die from COVID. One more time, kids in this age group do not die from COVID. So all of the details are just meant to distract you from the point that kids in this age group do not die from COVID.
And if I may interject just real quickly, they don't die from this, nor do they bring it home to kill grandma, right?
Exactly. And so any of those arguments are just horrific. And so there's a lot of things, there's a lot of moving parts. And so if you go to opposethefraud.com, opposethefraud.com, or if you call me or text me at 310-619-3055, 310-619-3055, 3055. It's confusing. I think I have a handle on it. If I can help anybody get unconfused about this, get clear on all of this, be more than happy to help you. Text me, call me, doesn't matter. The deadline is right at the top of the webpage. There's a thing that you can click on, and you can give your opinion and your public comment in written form. If you give it before the end of the night tonight, meaning midnight Eastern time, 9 o'clock Pacific, then it'll be early enough so that they can be made available to, that's funny, I put that on silent mode. They can be made available to the committee members prior to the meeting, which is next Wednesday. But if you miss the deadline, that's okay. Still go there before the end of the day on the 13th, which is Monday, and you can still submit your comment, because realize that the advisory committee is just that. They are an advisory committee. It's not like they're voting to determine whether or not it should be authorized. One might be confused into thinking that that's how it works. They're just an advisory committee. They could vote 0 to 15, so that all 15 are against this. And conceivably, the FDA should say, well, we don't care. We're going to do whatever we want. And so obviously that would make it more difficult for the FDA to justify it if their expert scientific advisory committee recommends against it. But the ultimate decision rests, on somebody in the FDA. It's very nebulous as to what their procedures are for, making these determinations. But you have until the 13th to put forth your public comment. Now, there's an additional thing tomorrow, the 8th, where if you send an email, and again, it's right on the top of opposethefraud.com, you can send an email and request a chance to actually speak to the committee during the meeting. I believe, via Zoom would be how they facilitate that. So by all means, send an email. If you've got something to say, I think they'll give people 3 minutes. Probably going to be a lot of people putting in their submissions to do so, but maybe you'll get lucky and maybe your name will be chosen and you'll get a chance to talk. Going into what little data we have that has leaked out from Pfizer and Moderna, the Pfizer protocol is going to be a 3-shot course. So nothing like sticking a nice, fresh, new 6-month-old baby with 3 injections. Moderna's has 8 times, I'm sorry, 15 times 9, do my math real quick, 5 times as much mRNA total, and it's only divided into 2 shots. So they're very, very different in terms of how much they're giving. The Moderna data that has leaked out is that for 6 months to 2 years old, it's 51% effective. And effective is a real nebulous term because they didn't actually measure this against COVID. They just said, oh, it boosts antibody levels, which, this, I forget if it was the FDA or the CDC, they determined months ago that that doesn't really tell you whether or not you're going to get COVID. It just means that your body responded to the poison that you injected, but whatever those levels are, it doesn't really matter. But they're using it as what they call a proxy to say, oh, it's going to protect you. For ages 2 to 6 for Moderna, the leaked information is that it's only 37% effective. Now, when you start looking at data, somebody told me something about some county information that they had, here in California. If you look at data from Israel and especially the UK, the latest thing I saw for people in the United Kingdom, people who've gotten 3 jabs are the way it's termed, if you remember, Fauci was saying that it was 95% effective, okay? And then it was 80, and then it was 70, and then they stopped talking about it. Well, now it's actually in England for 3 jabs, the people who got 3 jabs, it's minus 400% effective, which people go, what in the hell does that mean? It means that it's obviously not effective. It's harmful to the tune of 400%. Is 4 times as likely to get COVID if you've gotten triple jabbed versus people who didn't get anything.
James, I didn't have a lot of time to really brush up on this before our interview today, but it seems as though I read something that this might be leading toward more increased mandates in schools for the jabs, if not the, all of the other nonsense with the protocols there. Do you know anything about that?
Somebody said to me earlier, enough of this nonsense, and so that's exactly the point. Very specifically, the thing that is happening on Wednesday the 15th would really be preschool. I mean, we're talking 6 months to 5 or 6, so it would be partly school, kindergarten. It depends on the age group.
Sure.
But the issue is, the way they seem to run this is, oh, well, we're just making it available for the parents who want it. And then, the preschools will say you have to have it. And then there'll be some other kind of mandate and all that sort of thing. I'm just going to be really super duper redundant. Kids this age don't die from COVID. So what in the world are y'all doing? It can't possibly have any benefit. The real, if you want to get into I'll venture into a little teeny tiny bit of speculation, right? Some of the arguments for this have talked about how if the injections can be gotten onto the official childhood standard schedule so that all kids get this, there's only 72 or 75 or whatever it is, but if this can get onto that schedule, there's a release of liability, so that this can just continue on ad infinitum, not just for kids but for adults and all that sort of thing. And so the only seemingly logical, even though it's evil and unethical and immoral and unscientific, from the point of view of the drug companies who would like to have expanded protection from liability, from damage, if they can first get this authorized in young children and then get it approved and put it on the permanent list of approved and whatever vaccines that are given to children, many people argue that that's part of the reason for this push, because there is no scientific reason, there is no health reason. That monetary liability, permanent type thing, is part of it. And that leads me to what's going on June 28th. And so again, all of this is available on opposethefraud.com. There's going to be a meeting on June 28th where what they're discussing is potentially allowing the drug companies, pharmaceutical manufacturers, to do a big switcheroo with the mRNA. And what they're trying to say is, well, since these have proven to be so wonderfully safe and effective, we can just allow the manufacturers to replace the mRNA that they've been using and put in whatever other mRNA they might want. And the delivery mechanism is all fine and dandy. We haven't seen any problems with it. So let's just make it really easy so they don't have to go through the classic approval process. And that should scare the bejeebers out of everybody. Now, there has been a lot of talk about contaminants. You mentioned before we started this, many studies going back a year now, at least, all kinds of different additives and contaminants and particulates and nanoparticles. And one of the things that I feel is the case is that each batch of this very possibly has different ingredients. And so what we're dealing with is not one universal experiment. We could easily be dealing with thousands of separate experiments. And all of that data is being collected by the drug companies. And the data that's been rolled out from Pfizer and people like Naomi Wolf and all that are going through all of it. There's so much evidence already that this is just a horrible idea. I used to manage a nutrition and herbal store, and there were companies that would every year send us, a big thick book of the independent laboratory analysis of everything that was in their product, we got so much vitamins and minerals and herbs and all that. And they would also have tests for various contaminants and, fewer than 1 part per billion or whatever it may be. I don't see anybody doing that kind of testing on these batches. Where is the independent laboratory analysis of the 10,000 batches that these companies have put out? Okay. And so that's just, malfeasance. That's just horrifically bad quality control. And so independent people have been doing that kind of thing. And so the issue though then comes, well, one group is looking at batch number 12, right? And they find whatever they find. And somebody else might be looking at batch number 13 and they go, well, we don't find that there. We find these other things, whether it's living organisms or microchips or particles or graphene oxide or just junk, right? There's just not supposed to be any junk in there. What are they seeing? It doesn't even matter what it is. What in the heck is it doing in there, whatever it is, let alone, organisms and such, some of the things that have shown. And so do you really think that it's a good idea to inject that 3 times into a 6-month-old arm? Okay. Or with Moderna twice at, 5 times the dose? The insanity and the evil is off the charts. And so on a positive note, I see that the vast majority of people, I'm sure there are a couple of exceptions. So I want to say everybody I've talked to, I'm sure there's a few exceptions. I see this as the turning point. Okay. This will not happen. I would like to put a prayer and a hope out into the universe that the members of the advisory committee and then the FDA vaccine advisory committee and then the ACIP for CDC, which is going to be a couple of days later, I pray that they will come to their senses, that they will realize that there is no possible benefit for the children because they don't die from COVID, that they will advise against the FDA authorizing this, and that the massive amount of public outpouring of, just don't you dare, all right, that the FDA will have to ask themselves the question, do we want to take our already completely destroyed credibility and just, burn it to a shred and destroy every last possibility of anyone ever trusting the FDA again to approve this for children? Because we're not having it, FDA. It's just not going to happen. So I trust that there is somebody who has the strength of character and the goodness of heart and mind in the FDA who is going to be asked to be the one who signs the letter of authorization, and that person, whether it's their chief scientist or whomever it may be, they're going to hear our prayers. They're going to hear our cries. They're going to hear our demands. And they're going to say, I can't do that. I'm sorry.
For our children.
I'll resign, or I will, whomever you may be. Okay. Because they always have a different person signing it. Right. This is a call from me to whomever you may be in the FDA and the CDC. When you pick up that digital pen and you are asked to authorize the use of these injections in children, I know you're just going to say no, because that's the right thing to do. And so I trust that there will be humanity in that person that we can all pray and reach out to and connect with, and they will hear our prayers and they will refuse, and they will be a hero.
Yes.
They will have our unending thanks and gratitude, whomever you may be who is asked to do that for all of the children, not just in the United States, but this usually follows worldwide. Save the children, and you will go down in history as the person who was able to stop this. And I trust that you will be human enough to do that.
Exactly. Show that they have a heart and a conscience.
And I thank you in advance. When you do that, my prayers and the prayers of many other people will have been answered. And we can then all begin to look at things going in a much better direction. But this shall not happen. This must be stopped. This is where we stand up and we stop it. And there will be heroes along the way who stand up and say, nope, I cannot, you know, as the members of the committee, I trust that they will say, no, you know, it's just, I don't see it. And then whoever it is in the FDA who's asked to sign the document authorizing it, just don't do it. And America will praise you forever.
James, absolutely. And I like that you are winding down toward a positive affirmation. And I join you in that. I know that so much more good comes from those of us standing together and holding the vision that the right thing will be done, that they won't go the other way. And for our children, that they will realize their heart, and that they are our future, our children. And to do otherwise is unconscionable. And so we won't even hold that as a possibility, as far as I can see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so thank you for this time. And all I ask anybody to do is, when this video, you know, is something that you watch, don't censor yourself by prejudging anybody else that you may be able to contact. Don't be prejudiced. Send it to everybody, because why would you censor yourself and not send it to whomever? And not just in the United States, because this will affect everyone in the world. And you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody in another country, who knows somebody in another country, who knows somebody in another country, who knows somebody back in the United States. And this could go all the way around the world and come back to your neighbor next door. You know, I've had things that I've put out there, and then, you know, a couple of days or a couple of weeks later, somebody sends it to me and I go, hey, that started with me. Where'd you get it? You know, and so
Wonderful.
why would you not share this with everybody? Just, if you've got somebody on your phone list, if you've got somebody on your email list, social media, alternative media, reach out to anybody that you may listen to and ask them to, I'll leave it with a little tiny bit of humor. I hope people find it amusing. I've adopted Klaus Schwab's philosophy, where everything I've written, anything on any of my articles, any videos, anything whatsoever, I don't claim any copyright or anything like that. Please steal it, borrow it, copy it, you know, mirror it, put it on your blog. I don't need credit. It's not about that. It's about getting the information out. I own nothing, and I'll be very happy if you share it with whomever you want. So you can be happy not clinging to material things. In terms of this intellectual property, I beg you, you know, steal it, share it, run with it, give it to everybody possible. There's a bit of a deadline tonight. There's a deadline tomorrow. The big event with all of this is supposed to happen on Wednesday, the 15th. And the more eyes that we have on that, the more prayers that are going out, I trust that this will go the way we want it to go. And we'll be on an upswing from that point forward.
Absolutely, James. I'll certainly do my part to get it out today. And everyone, you'll find the information down below in the comments section, the website James mentioned, along with the other little details that you might run across on how to work around some things you might encounter to help you get the word out. So I'm going to be spreading it far and wide. And thank you so much for all you
Thank
are
you.
and do. And everyone listening, thank you for participating, and we really appreciate everything. So for our children, take care. Bye for now.